My friend, if you desire to rise higher, to transcend the limits that surround you, you must understand a sacred truth. You are not a victim of your current reality. You are the author of it. But more importantly, you are the author of the reality that is yet to be seen. The greatest mistake is to believe that what you see with your eyes is all there is. Your bank account, your job title, your relationship status, your health. These are shadows, echoes of thoughts you've previously entertained. They are not fixed, they are not final, and they certainly are not facts unless you believe them to be. Ignore them, yes, ignore the lack, ignore the delay, ignore the noise of the world that tells you to face facts. The only fact worth facing is this: your inner world shapes the outer. You are not here to chase after changes in the outer world like a beggar pleading for scraps of blessings. You are here to imagine boldly, to assume nobly, and to feel as though your desire is already fulfilled. That inner state, not effort, not struggle, is what changes everything. When you ignore your reality, you are not denying its presence. You are denying it the right to define you. If you feel poor, don't fight poverty. Assume wealth. If you feel alone, don't dwell in loneliness. Assume love. If you feel unwell, don't resist illness. Assume vitality. You do not escape the prison by rattling the bars. You escape it by closing your eyes and knowing you are already free. Let the outer world scream, "It's not here yet." Let your senses mock you and try to pull you back. But you remain faithful to the inner vision, for what you accept as real within will eventually harden into form without. Every time you react to what is, you give it life. But when you ignore it, you dissolve its power. Say to yourself, "This may be my current scene, but it is not my final chapter." Step into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and refuse to bow to appearances. You are not what you see. You are what you assume. So walk as if you already are. Speak as if you already have. Rest as if it is already done. And in the silence of your soul, reality will be rewritten. Your current reality is only a reflection of past thoughts, not a prophecy of your future. That statement, when truly understood, will liberate you from the chains of circumstance. Everything you now experience, every limitation, every condition, every delay, is nothing more than the residue of thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you once held. You are not seeing truth. You are seeing echoes. The life you are living today is not a punishment, a reward, or some permanent condition decided by fate. It is simply a mirror. It reflects not what you are now imagining, but what you have imagined persistently in the past. And that mirror has a delay. What you thought last month, last year, even last decade, it took time to reflect into your world. So when you look around and see struggle or lack or disappointment, know that it is not prophecy. It is old news. It is a faded signal, already broadcast, long ago by the transmitter of your inner state. This is the mistake so many make. They see what is and believe it will always be so. But they do not realize that the power lies not in reacting to what is, but in choosing what comes next. And how do you choose it? Not with effort, not with worry, but with thought, with feeling, and with assumption. Marivaux. The moment you grasp that the present moment holds no creative power unless you give it your attention, you become free. Because if your reality today is the outcome of yesterday's thoughts, then you can begin today to write a new script, one that aligns with what you desire, not what you fear. You are not stuck, you are not trapped. You are simply caught in a reflection. And reflections change the moment the image within the mirror shifts. Your job is not to shatter the mirror. Your job is to change the source, the imaginal act within. The mirror will follow. You must train yourself to ignore the visible if it contradicts the life you desire. This is not denial, it is divine discipline. For if you let your eyes convince your heart, you will recreate the same conditions over and over again. But if you let your heart, your imagination, your feeling rule over the evidence of your senses, then your future becomes something entirely new. It does not matter what has happened before. It does not matter what you failed at or what you've been told is possible. What matters is what you now choose to accept as true. Your subconscious does not care whether a thought is fact or fiction. It only cares about repetition and feeling. So choose to feel the reality of your wish fulfilled. Choose to walk in the assumption that it is already yours, and do so consistently. Do not wait for life to confirm your belief. That is not faith. Faith is assuming something is real long before the world gives you permission to believe it. And when you walk in that assumption, unshaken by appearances, the old reflection will dissolve. A new one will emerge, one that reflects the new state you now occupy within. So never look at your current reality as prophecy. It is a memory, it is a page you've already written. And the next chapter, dear one, is being written now by your thoughts, by your feelings, and by the story you dare to believe. What you accept inwardly must express itself outwardly. Consciousness is the only cause. This is not philosophy, this is not wishful thinking, it is law. The world you walk through each day, the conditions you face, the relationships you attract, the opportunities or the obstacles, they are all shaped and formed by the state of consciousness you dwell in. Nothing happens outside of you that did not first begin within you. Your inner acceptance, not your effort, not your background, not the opinions of others, is the true seed of every outcome in your life. If inwardly you accept lack as normal, the world must mirror that lack. If inwardly you accept love as unavailable, your relationships will reflect that belief. But if you accept abundance, peace, beauty, success, or healing as already yours, then life must reshape itself to express that inward truth. You are not at the mercy of chance. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a creator, whether you know it or not. The challenge is that most people are unconsciously creating from fear, from limitation, from old wounds they've come to accept as permanent parts of their identity. But what is unconscious can be brought to light. And once it is seen, it can be changed. The cause of all things is not in the world. It is in the state of consciousness you live in, moment by moment. Your mood, your assumptions, your inner conversations, these are the builders of your world. The outer is the shadow of the inner. To attempt to change the shadow while leaving the light source untouched is useless. And yet, that is what most do. They chase outer change while still harboring inner beliefs of defeat and lack. The secret is not in striving, but in dwelling. Dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, living inwardly in the world you wish to see, long before your senses confirm it. This is not fantasy. This is the very mechanism of manifestation. For what you assume to be true within, your subconscious accepts. And what the subconscious accepts, it brings to pass without. You cannot hold an image of failure within and expect success to bloom outside. You cannot harbor bitterness and expect peace to find you. Whatever you claim inside must appear outside, for the world is compelled to reflect the contents of your consciousness. If you wish to change your life, do not begin with actions. Begin with awareness. Begin by observing what you've accepted as true for yourself. Do you believe you are worthy of wealth? Then you must see wealth. Do you believe you are destined for love? Then love must appear. but only if that belief is true inwardly, not momentarily, not half-heartedly, but deeply accepted, emotionally claimed. The world cannot give you what you refuse to accept within. This is why some who work endlessly remain stuck, and others who simply assume with boldness and consistency see results with ease. Because the power is not in what you do. The power is in what you believe and accept as already done. Consciousness is not one cause among many. It is the only cause. Your job is not to fix the world, but to fix your attention. As you do, the world bends. The outer reorganizes. And the life you imagine becomes the life you live, not by accident, but by law. To transform life, you must mentally detach from appearances and live in the unseen. This is the secret most overlooked, because they have been trained from birth to believe only in what they can see, hear, and touch. But the senses, as persuasive as they are not the source of truth. They are merely the reporters of past assumptions. They show you what was impressed upon the inner world days, weeks, or even years ago. If you wish to change the visible, you must stop believing in it as final and begin to trust what is still invisible to the eye, but alive in the imagination. The world of form is slow to change, not because it is stubborn, but because it is obedient. It mirrors whatever state of mind you continue to dwell in. If you stay focused on your current situation, your bills, your loneliness, your sickness, your job title, and you identify with it, you lock yourself into it. You reinforce it. You give it life. But when you detach mentally, when you refuse to call this appearance your identity, you begin the process of transformation. You are not your bank account. You are not your job. You are not your diagnosis. You are not what the world has told you. You are what you accept as true in the unseen realm of imagination. For it is there that all true creation begins. Everything that ever was or will be starts first as an unseen image, a quiet assumption. A feeling that dares to claim, this is who I am now. To live in the unseen means to shift your attention from the facts to the truth you desire. It means you walk by inner vision, not outer sight. You may look around and see lack, but within you hold the image of wealth. You may hear silence where love should be, but within you hear laughter and intimacy. You may feel pain, but within you feel the wholeness of a healed body. That inner knowing, that unseen acceptance, it is what gives form to the new. This is not pretending. This is not escapism. This is divine creation. The world calls it delusion, but only because it does not understand the power of consciousness. The one who walks by the unseen is not ignoring the world, they are redefining it. They are choosing to see not what is, but what will be, because they know that what will be is shaped by what they are conscious of being now. Transformation requires discipline of mind. You must choose again and again to feel the truth of the unseen over the evidence of the senses. You must persist in that state, even when the world shows no sign of change. Because change does not begin outside. It begins in the silence of your own awareness. Whatever you give attention to grows. If you feed the unseen vision with emotion, belief, and gratitude, it must become seen. It must externalize. It must become your new reality. So let go of the need to fix appearances. Appearances are the effect, not the cause. Withdraw your belief from what is fading and invest your faith in what is forming. Within you, for the unseen is not empty. It is the womb of all that is possible, and to live from it is to create a life that reflects not what is, but what is intended. Faith is assuming the invisible as real, not begging the visible to change. This is a truth that liberates the soul when fully grasped. Most people believe faith is something you call upon when all else fails, a final resort when the facts are grim. But real faith is not desperation, it is power, it is certainty. It is the quiet, unwavering knowing that what you desire already exists, though it may not yet be visible to the human eye. To live by faith is to understand that creation is finished. Everything you could ever want, be, or become already exists in the unseen. The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether you will assume it, whether you will claim it, whether you will walk in the feeling of its truth before a single thing in the world confirms it. Begging the visible to change is the mindset of the powerless. It says, please world, give me something different, but the world is deaf to begging. It does not respond to complaints or wishes, it only responds to assumption. When you assume something is already yours, not as a fantasy, but as a living reality in consciousness, the world has no choice but to conform. For the world is not the master, the world is the servant of your inner state. People pray for things to change, but their prayers are often filled with worry, with doubt, with attention to what is missing. That is not faith. That is fear in disguise. Faith does not plead, faith possesses. It says, I have it now, it is done, and it lives from that place regardless of what the senses report. This is the great misunderstanding. People think faith is believing that something might happen, but true faith believes it already has. It is the deep conviction that what is unseen is more real than what is seen, because what is seen is temporary, and what is unseen is eternal. The invisible state you dwell in now will soon shape itself into your outer experience. Unless you waver, unless you doubt, unless you revert to begging the world to shift before you believe it has. Faith is not dependent on time or conditions or logic. It defies all of that. It chooses the end and lives in it, feels it now. When you assume the invisible as real, you are living by spiritual law. And that law is precise. Whatever you accept as true within must externalize without. The how, the when, the who, these are not your concern. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state of the wish fulfilled. Stop looking around for proof. Look within for presence. Stop waiting for the evidence to give you permission to believe. Believe first, feel first, assume first, and let the world rearrange itself around your new conviction. You were not created to chase outcomes. You were created to create them, not through effort, but through awareness, not through striving, but through surrender to the unseen. So walk in the invisible, talk to it, trust it, see it, live from it, and know that as you do, the visible must bow to the reality you have already claimed in faith. Ignore the facts when they contradict your desire. Facts follow imagination. This is the cornerstone of conscious creation. Most people live as prisoners to facts, allowing what they see, hear, and experience to determine what they believe is possible. But facts are not fixed. They are simply the result of old thoughts, old assumptions, and past imaginal acts. They do not predict your future. They reflect your past. When a desire is born within you, it is not to tease you. It is a glimpse into what is already possible. A whisper from your higher self saying, this can be yours if you dare to believe it. But belief cannot be based on current facts. If it is, you'll never move beyond your current circumstances. To manifest a new reality, you must turn your back on the facts that tell you it can't be done, and turn inward to the imagination, which already contains the seed of fulfillment. Your imagination is far more powerful than anything you call reality. For what you call reality is just a collection of frozen pictures, past impressions that have solidified into what your senses can now observe. But imagination is the source, the root, the creative force behind every fact that ever was. Look around you. Every invention, every building, every piece of art, every relationship, it all started in someone's imagination. It wasn't a fact until someone dared to hold it in mind and believe it long enough for the outer world to catch up. So when you're faced with facts that contradict your deepest desires, don't argue with them. Don't resist them. Simply ignore them. Now, this does not mean pretending that nothing is happening. It means refusing to accept those facts as final or defining. It means recognizing that facts are fluid and they are shaped by feeling, by assumption, and by vision. Your job is not to fix the facts. Your job is to shift your inner state until the facts reflect something new. If your bank account shows lack and your desire is abundance, you do not meditate on the number in your account. You imagine the freedom, the ease, the generosity of wealth. You feel it. You live in it internally. And as you persist, the outer world, which seems so slow and stubborn, begins to bend, not by force, but by law. Facts do not lead the imagination. Imagination leads the facts. You must become so committed to your inner vision that you no longer care what the outer world says. You see wealth even when lack is present. You feel love even when loneliness surrounds you. You assume success even when failure appears to dominate. This is not delusion, this is creation. This is mastery. You do not wait for things to change, you change your focus. You build the invisible world within and let the visible world follow. Because it must. So ignore the facts. Not out of defiance, but out of knowing. Knowing that they are old, expired, and irrelevant to the new reality you are now constructing. Keep your attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and the world will mirror it. Because imagination is not just fantasy. It is the architect of your life. The outer world bends to the inner state, not the other way around. This is the truth hidden in plain sight. Most live believing that the external world has the power to dictate how they feel, what they become, and what they can achieve. They let circumstances shape their identity. But the wise know that it is the inner world, your thoughts, assumptions, emotions, and beliefs, that gives birth to the outer. The world does not move first, you do. If you wake up feeling anxious and defeated and expect the world to lift your mood, you have already given your power away. The truth is, the outer world only reflects what you are conscious of being. If you dwell in the state of fear, the world will show you reasons to be afraid. If you assume you are unwanted, people will unconsciously reflect that assumption back to you. But when you step into a new inner state, one of confidence, love, abundance, even if nothing has changed yet, the outer world begins to reorganize itself to match that state. Not instantly, but inevitably. This is not magic. This is law. The inner state is the cause, the outer is the effect. But most people try to change their lives backwards. They say, when I have more money, I'll feel secure. When I meet the right person, I'll feel loved. When I get that job, I'll feel worthy. But that's not how reality works. If you want the outer to shift, you must first feel what you would feel if you already had what you desire. You must live inwardly in the result before it appears. Feelings are not reactions, they are creations. The state you dwell in most often becomes your dominant vibration, and that vibration instructs life how to behave toward you. It's not about pretending, it's about entering into the feeling of your wish fulfilled and making it your dwelling place. From there, life bends. Everything in the outer world is a mirror. It cannot show you anything you do not already believe or assume within. This is why two people can live in the same city, work the same job, have similar experiences, and one will thrive while the other suffers. The difference is not in their conditions, it is in their consciousness. The moment you choose to live from a new inner state, one that matches the life you desire, everything begins to shift. You'll notice different opportunities, people will treat you differently, ideas will flow, doors will open. And if the world doesn't bend right away, you don't panic. You remain still, faithful to the inner state. Because you know that life has no choice but to yield to the consciousness you inhabit. You are not meant to be pushed around by the world. You are here to command it by the power of assumption. The outer is obedient, it follows, it reflects, but it does not lead. So do not wait for things to improve before you allow yourself to feel peace, joy, love, or success. Choose the state now. Live from the inside out, and watch how effortlessly the outer bends. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. And everything you seek, whether it be love, wealth, health, peace, or freedom, does not come by chasing the world, but by changing the state within. The facts of your life are not fixed. They are reflections of what you have previously accepted as true. To transform your life, you must stop reacting to appearances and begin to live boldly in the unseen. Assume your desires are already fulfilled. Dwell in the feeling of the wish accomplished. Persist in that inner knowing, and the outer world will reshape itself accordingly. Remember, your reality bends to your consciousness, not the other way around. Live from the end, and the end will live through you. Saying thanks. Thank you for spending your time here today. May these words remind you of the incredible power you already hold. Trust the unseen, believe in the inner vision, and never forget, you are the operant power. You have been taught that the way to win in life is to struggle, to labor, to fight against circumstance. But the truth, hidden from the noise of the world, is this: you do not win by work. You win by what you hear within. It is not action that moves mountains, it is belief. Inner hearing, not outer effort, is the real cause of change. What you whisper to yourself in the silence of your mind echoes into form. All things respond to that inner voice. So why worry? Why labor in vain when you were born with the power to speak silently and watch life obey? Close your eyes. Do you hear the sound of victory? Do you hear the applause, the answered prayer, the yes of the universe spoken in silence? Then it is done, it is yours, not by force, but by inner faith. There is no need to chase what belongs to you. What you are willing to listen to with feeling and certainty, you become. The outer world is only the reflection of what you believe inwardly. It is a mirror, not a master. So be still. Let the noise fade. In that stillness, listen, not with the ears of flesh, but with the ears of spirit. Hear your desires fulfilled. Feel the joy of it. Smell the success. Taste the freedom. See the completion. Let it become so real inside you that it must take form outside you. You do not need to work for it. You do not need to beg or worry. Just listen. Listen until it is louder than doubt. Listen until it drowns fear. Listen until it becomes natural. Because once it is natural in your mind, it is inevitable in your world. The one who listens from the end lives as if it's already done. And for such a one, the world rearranges itself. Doors open, people appear. Circumstances bend, not through struggle, but through the silent command of inner knowing. No work, no worry, just listen and win. The world has long taught us that effort, strain, and physical toil are the only true measures of progress. But the deeper truth, hidden in plain sight, is that the most powerful work you will ever do is invisible to others. It is the labor of imagination. You are not here to force life into shape. You are here to shape it within and watch it respond. Imagination is not fantasy, it is the creative faculty that builds worlds. What you consistently imagine, what you repeatedly hear and see within yourself, becomes the substance of your lived experience. Most people dismiss imagination as child's play, something detached from reality. And yet every man-made thing around you first lived in someone's mind. The chair you sit on, the building you're in, the phone in your hand, it all began in the unseen world of thought and vision. Nothing exists in form that did not first exist in consciousness. When you begin to understand that imagination is the only true labor, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on the outer hustle and start directing it inward, where your true power lies. You begin to choose your inner conversations with care. You catch yourself when your mind wants to replay old fears or familiar worries, and instead you choose to hear something new. You learn to dwell in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. This inner work is not always easy, but it is always effective. It requires discipline. Not the kind of discipline that pushes and punishes, but the quiet determination to return again and again to the scene of your desire. You rehearse it not with desperation, but with calm certainty. You see it, you feel it, you live it internally long before the world catches up. Every time you imagine something with feeling, you are planting a seed. And just like a seed in the soil, it does not matter if others see it. What matters is that you nourish it daily. You water it with your belief. You protect it from the weeds of doubt and the winds of negativity. And in time, always in perfect time, it breaks through the surface and becomes your reality. But most people give up too soon. They imagine once or twice, then look around and say nothing has changed. That's like planting a seed and digging it up every day to check if it's growing. Imagination requires faith, the kind that knows what is planted will rise, even if nothing seems to be happening yet. You are not meant to beg life for what you want. You are meant to embody it within. That is the true labor, to hold the image, to feel the reality, to rest in the knowing that what you imagine persistently and vividly must come to pass. So do not waste your strength chasing the outside. Turn inward. Imagine boldly. Discipline your mind to dwell in beauty, in abundance, in peace. That is your job. That is your creation. The rest will follow, not by force, but by law. What you consistently hear within, you inevitably become. There is a sacred law hidden beneath all outward appearances, and it is this: you do not move toward your desire through effort alone, but through the quiet, deliberate act of assumption. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is not hope. It is not waiting. It is the acceptance here and now that you already are, but you desire to be. It is a bridge not built by hands but walked by faith, and it spans the space between your present experience and your fulfilled state. Many are trapped in the belief that life changes only through hustle, grind, and the sweat of physical effort. But countless efforts fail because the person taking action has not changed within. They may move mountains on the outside, but if they still see themselves as small, poor, unloved, or overlooked, life reflects that image faithfully. Outer movement without inner shift is like rowing against the tide. Assumption does what force cannot. It brings the end into the present. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you bypass time and dissolve the idea of separation. You stop longing for your desire and begin living from it. And that shift from I want to I am is everything. You do not need to know how it will happen. You do not need to manipulate the world or convince others. That is not your part. Your task is singular, to assume the state of being that matches your desire as if it is already so. Feel it in your body. Hear the sounds that would accompany it. Walk in it mentally until it becomes natural. Once it is natural in you, it must express itself in your world. This is not delusion, it is divine strategy. Life does not respond to pleading, it responds to certainty. An assumption is certainty in motion. It is not a rigid insistence, it is not stubborn will, it is quiet inner knowing. You move, speak, and decide from that place, not to trick life into giving you what you want, but because it is already yours in consciousness. And consciousness is the only true reality. The moment you assume something new, you enter into a new timeline. You may not see immediate outer change, but something has shifted. People, events, and circumstances begin to rearrange. New paths open, old obstacles dissolve. It all begins invisibly, and then it appears naturally, effortlessly, like fruit falling from a tree in season. But you must persist, not in effort, but in faith. There will be temptations to fall back into old ways of seeing, old states of lack and doubt. Resist them gently, not by fighting, but by returning again and again to the feeling of fulfillment. Let it cradle you. Let it become your inner home. Every time you assume, you plant the flag of your desire in the present. You claim your place, not by force, but by being. And in time, all things align, not because you chased them, but because you became them. So do not wait, do not strain, assume, and walk the invisible bridge to everything you've ever wanted. The world you see, touch, and move through is not separate from you. It is not acting upon you. It is responding to you, not to your surface words or fleeting emotions, but to your sustained inner conversations, those quiet, constant whispers that live beneath your actions. The world is not a mystery waiting to be solved. It is an echo, repeating back what you have spoken within. This echo is precise. It does not distort or alter, it simply reflects. If you believe the world is against you, it must show you resistance. If you carry inner arguments, you will meet outer conflict. If you expect disappointment, you will find it, over and over again, not because life is cruel or unfair, but because it is perfectly obedient to the tones you strike within. You are always speaking, even in silence. Your thoughts, your reactions, your quiet assumptions, these are your prayers. They go out silently and they return to you clothed as experience. Most people try to change their lives by changing their behavior. They rearrange the outside but ignore the conversation they are having with themselves. And so, the echo continues unchanged. The story repeats. To change the echo, you must change the sound. You must become aware of what you are listening to in your own mind. Are you hearing fear or faith, doubt or confidence, lack or abundance? What internal dialogue plays in the background when you are alone? That, more than anything, determines what the world must show you. This is not a metaphor, it is law. Life cannot resist your inner voice. It molds itself to your vibration, your expectation, your conviction. If you are constantly thinking things never work out for me, then the world must answer with agreement. But if you begin to feed your mind with new ideas, ideas of success, love, wholeness, the world will begin to reflect them too. This is why listening inwardly is more powerful than acting outwardly. A single inner shift, sustained with faith, can rearrange your entire reality. People will change, opportunities will arise, conditions will move, not because you forced them, but because you changed the conversation within. So learn to listen differently. Turn down the volume of the world and tune into the dialogue of your soul. Speak to yourself as the person you wish to become. Let your inner voice rise with assurance. Let it say, I am loved, I am secure, I am chosen, I am successful, not as a wish, but as a truth. And repeat that truth until it echoes back from every corner of your life. There is no delay, only reflection. The world waits for you to speak clearly. The moment your inner conversation changes, the echo begins to shift. It may start as a whisper, a chance meeting, a small sign, a gentle nudge, but it will grow. And soon the entire landscape of your life will transform, not through struggle, but through resonance. The world is not your enemy, it is your mirror. What you see is not what is real, it is what is repeated. So choose wisely what you whisper within. Speak love, peace, wealth, and joy, and let the echo return it all to you multiplied. Stillness is often misunderstood in a world addicted to movement. People equate stillness with laziness, with inaction, with weakness. But true stillness is none of these things. It is not the absence of power, it is power contained, centered, and focused. It is divine confidence. It is knowing so deeply that what you desire is already yours, you no longer feel the need to chase, push, or plead. You simply rest in the unseen certainty of fulfillment. Stillness is not idleness, it is an inner posture, a sacred position of belief. When you are still within, you are no longer reacting to appearances. You are no longer tossed around by the changing tides of the external world. You have anchored yourself in the invisible, and because of that, the visible must eventually yield. The one who is still does not need to prove or convince. They know, and that knowing held in stillness creates more results than 1,000 acts of desperation ever could. This stillness magnetizes, it draws to you what is already aligned with the state you have assumed. And that is the secret. Stillness only works when it is combined with assumption. To be still without assuming is to wait in uncertainty. But to be still and assume is to dwell in the end. It is to sit at the table of your fulfilled desire before the food ever arrives. You do not wonder if it's coming, you know it is already prepared. Stillness allows the inner vision to grow roots. When you are still, you no longer dig up the seed of your imagination to see if it's sprouting. You plant it and you rest. You trust the process you cannot see. And in that trust, in that non-reactive calm, you become magnetic. People, resources, and opportunities begin to move, not because you pushed, but because you aligned. Life bends toward the one who does not chase it. When you are still, you are no longer at war with reality. You have surrendered, not in defeat, but in divine recognition. You know that what is yours cannot pass you. You know that what you imagine with feeling and hold in quiet faith must become form. There is no longer any need to run after things, no need to explain yourself, no need to prove your worth. Stillness speaks louder than noise. And from this place of calm, inspired action may arise. But it is no longer driven by fear or urgency, it is born of alignment. It flows, it feels natural. There is no struggle in it. And even if you do nothing outwardly for a time, that is also enough. Because stillness itself is working. It is rearranging the world behind the scenes. It is drawing the perfect pieces together. So rest, not in doubt, but in power. Be still, not to avoid life, but to command it silently. And assume not to beg life to change, but to live now in the joy of what is already done. Stillness is not weakness, it is strength at rest. It is the unwavering confidence that everything you have imagined is already making its way to you, quietly, inevitably, because you dared to be still and know. We've been taught to believe that only through constant effort, struggle, and relentless hustle can we achieve anything worthwhile. But this belief is born from fear, not truth. Fear that if we stop, we will fall behind. Fear that if we rest, we will lose. Yet in truth, the greatest power does not lie in doing more, but in doing less with greater faith. The more you trust, the more you receive. The more you let go, the more life flows. Doing less is not about laziness. It is not about apathy or avoidance. It is about alignment. It is about realizing that your outer actions are only as effective as the state you take them from. A mind that is cluttered, frantic, and fearful can take 1,000 steps and still end up lost. But a mind that is calm, trusting, and centered can take one step, and that step opens doors that effort could never reach. To do less is to understand that your real work is inner. It is to observe your thoughts, guide your imagination, and shape your assumptions. It is to stop trying to force life and begin allowing life. The one who trusts, who listens inwardly with clarity and conviction, receives more than the one who toils without faith. You were never meant to beg for your blessings. You are meant to align with them. This is why the mind that trusts, that believes, and that listens with intention becomes magnetic. It does not chase outcomes. It attracts them. It does not need to convince others or manipulate conditions. It simply knows. And in that knowing, all things come, not because you worked harder, but because you finally stopped trying to control what was never yours to control. When you do less in the world, but more in your imagination, more in your feeling, more in your quiet surrender, you begin to live from the end. You become the person who already has what they desire. And from that state, the next action is clear, easy, inspired. It is not effortful, it is natural. It flows from identity, not from insecurity. Many will tell you to grind, to hustle, to sacrifice peace for progress. But look closely at those who do. They may achieve temporarily, but their gains are often fragile, and their joy is fleeting. Why? Because what they gain through struggle must be maintained through struggle. But what is received through trust, through stillness, through inner knowing, is sustained by the same effortless flow that brought it forth. Let go of the need to prove your worth. You are already worthy. Let go of the urge to chase. What you seek is already within you. Your job is not to push harder. It is to surrender deeper, to lean into the silence, to speak only what you wish to see, to feel only what affirms your truth, and to rest not in idleness, but in powerful belief. The life you want is not far. It is only a shift away, not a shift in effort, but a shift in attention. Stop doing so much. Start listening more. Start imagining more. Start trusting more. That is the path. That is the secret. Do less and you will receive more than you ever thought possible. Faith is not a desperate plea shouted into the void, nor is it a trembling hope that maybe, just maybe, things will work out. True faith is quiet, yet immovable. It is the ability to hear the end result within yourself with such clarity, such certainty, that no external condition, no delay, no opposition can shake it. Faith is not noise, it is not panic, it is not interference, it is a clear inner hearing of what already is. To live by faith is to hear beyond appearances. You may look around and see lack, struggle, separation. But faith listens deeper. Faith hears abundance, harmony, fulfillment. It tunes into the station of the end, where all is already done, and refuses to be distracted by static. Most people are tuned into the chaos of the world, reacting constantly to what they see. But faith listens to the unseen. It locks in on the inner conclusion and lets that sound guide every thought, word, and step. This inner hearing is not passive. It requires focus. It requires discipline. You must learn to turn down the volume of fear, of doubt, of past experiences. You must stop asking how and start affirming it is. Because the moment you allow interference, when you entertain thoughts of delay, difficulty, or defeat, you begin to lose the sound. And once the sound is lost, the path becomes unclear. Faith is not about repeating affirmations until you are exhausted. It is not about visualizing to exhaustion. It is about listening, really listening to what you would hear if your desire were fulfilled. That conversation you would have, that gratitude you would feel, that peace you would live in when you hear it clearly in your inner ear and hold it with quiet conviction. The outer world must bend to reflect it. You are not trying to convince life to give you something. You are embodying the end and letting life catch up. Faith does not waver because of delay. It does not ask, why isn't it here yet? It knows it already is, and so it walks as if the promise has been kept. Because inwardly, it has. Faith walks forward, while the world still looks the same, because it knows the unseen reality is the only truth that matters. There is no need to force anything when you walk by faith. You do not have to manipulate others, chase signs, or struggle for validation. Your job is to maintain the sound of the fulfilled desire within. When interference comes, and it will, you return to that sound. You quiet your mind. You go back to the state. You hear it again clearly. The celebration, the answer, the moment of completion. That is your compass. This is the most powerful way to live, not by reaction, but by inner direction. The world does not lead you, your faith does, and your faith is determined by what you allow yourself to hear without interference. So choose your station. Tune into the life you want, the outcome you know is yours, and listen. Let that inner sound be louder than the noise of the world. Then move not with haste, but with quiet certainty. For once you hear the end clearly, the rest must follow. When you stop striving and start listening, you step into the mystery where all things are possible. No more forcing, no more doubting, just the quiet power of assumption, the sacred stillness of inner knowing, and the gentle alignment with the sound of your fulfilled desire. You do not need to hustle to prove your worth or chase life to be worthy of its gifts. The moment you dare to believe, truly believe, what you imagine is already yours. Life bends to reflect that truth. This is not magic, it is law. The world is responding to your inner world. What you hear within becomes what you see without. So let go. Rest in your divine confidence. Do less, but do it from the state of already having. Be still, not out of fear, but out of knowing. Assume, not with strain, but with certainty. And most of all, listen, because the answer, the blessing, the life you want is already speaking within you. No work, no worry, just listen and win. Be still. You've done enough chasing, enough writing, enough planning. The answers you seek cannot be found in the noise of the world. They wait in the silence, where only the faithful go. Don't move, don't write, just listen, for the one who truly listens can never be defeated. There is a voice, quiet, constant, and true, whispering from within. It does not shout. It does not beg for your attention. It waits patiently. For the moment you put the pen down, take your hands off the wheel, and finally become still enough to hear it. This voice speaks your future. This voice already sees you victorious. It does not tell you to try, It tells you to know. Every time you sit in silence and listen to the inner assurance that says you already have it, you move mountains. Every time you resist the urge to chase and instead align inwardly, you rewrite the world without lifting a finger. People will ask, how did you do it? And you will smile, because you didn't. You listened. And listening became your power. Imagination speaks, but not to the one who is busy, frantic, or doubting. It speaks to the one who closes their eyes and listens in faith. Not for proof, not for permission, but for the knowing that it is done. When you listen, you win. Because in the stillness, you become the one who already has it. You hear yourself as wealthy. You hear yourself as loved. You hear yourself as healed, whole, successful. And what you hear, inwardly and consistently, must show itself outwardly. So today, let the world spin, let others chase. You sit quietly, listen carefully, and possess completely. Don't move, don't write, just listen and win. True creation begins in stillness. It is not in motion, not in force, not in striving that the deepest transformations occur, but in the silence between thoughts, in the sacred stillness of being. This world, as you know it, is merely a reflection, a mirror casting back the state of your inner world. And yet, few ever stop long enough to see this truth. They rush, they plan, they push. But the secret, the true alchemy of life, is stillness. You are not here to force outcomes, but to realize them. And realization does not come by movement. It arrives in quiet, when the noise fades and the mind sinks back into its source. You cannot hear the music of your destiny when your soul is filled with noise. You cannot feel the movement of spirit when your hands are too busy trying to control every detail. But when you become still, deeply, deliberately still, something miraculous begins to stir. You begin to remember. You remember that you were never meant to chase. You were meant to become. Stillness is not passivity. It is not weakness. It is power restrained, awareness uncluttered, presence untouched by the distractions of the world. It is in this stillness that imagination becomes clear, that the inner voice is heard, and that the invisible world begins to shape the visible. The moment you close your eyes and turn away from the five senses, you return to the secret place, the origin of all that appears real. And there, in that silent inner world, you find that creation does not require effort, only awareness. Everything you desire, the love, the wealth, the healing, the success, it already exists, but it exists in the unseen. To touch it, to claim it, you must become still enough to see it in your mind and feel it in your soul. This is the great truth. You cannot attract what you have not first become in spirit. And becoming is not achieved through action, but through surrender. Surrender to the silence, to the knowing that what is truly yours is already yours. Many fear stillness because it reveals what is really there. In movement, you can avoid yourself. In action, you can pretend. But in stillness, there is nowhere to run. You come face to face with your own beliefs, your assumptions, your fears. But do not be afraid. It is only in facing them that you can dissolve them. And once they are gone, you are left with truth. The truth that you are not separate from what you seek. You are it. Creation is finished. You are not here to create in the way the world teaches, by toil and hustle. You are here to select from the infinite states that already exist. Stillness is the doorway to that selection. It is in the still, quiet conviction of I am that all manifestations unfold. If you can hold the feeling of already having, even for a few moments, in perfect stillness, You will move the heavens. Do not underestimate the power of sitting in silence. The world will tempt you to move, to speak, to do something, but the wise know better. The wise listen in stillness. They see without eyes. They feel without touch. And they change their world by changing within. You don't need to try harder. You need to stop long enough to remember who you are. The inner man, the one that shapes all, waits patiently in the silence. Go there, sit with him, and from that sacred place of stillness, watch as the world rearranges itself in your favor. Stillness, what you see around you, the circumstances, the people, the conditions, they are not the truth of you. They are echoes. They are snapshots of your former self, captured and projected into the physical world like a delayed reflection. Your outer world is never current. It's not a live broadcast. It is the result of previous thoughts, assumptions, feelings, and states that you once occupied. And so what you call reality is nothing more than a mirror of what you used to believe. There is a lag, a divine delay between the inner assumption and the outer manifestation. This delay fools the untrained mind into thinking the outside world holds power, when in truth it is merely catching up to the new you. So when you react to what is, you react to the past. You affirm the outdated. You give life to the version of yourself that you've already outgrown. This is why detachment is powerful, not because you don't care, but because you know better. You understand the game. The world is not doing something to you. It is showing you what you've already done within. If you can see this clearly, you'll stop trying to fix the mirror and start adjusting the face. You'll stop trying to battle conditions and instead return to the only true cause, your inner state. You may see lack, but you are abundance. You may hear silence, but you are desired. You may feel resistance, but you are chosen. And all these external signs, they are just time-lagged echoes. They have no hold unless you cling to them. They fade the moment you stop feeding them your attention and your belief. So when your world looks unchanged, it's not a sign that nothing is happening. It's a sign that something already happened. The old story is running its final loop, and you are already beyond it. Don't try to rewind the past by believing in what no longer reflects your truth. Instead, stand still, remain faithful. The new reality is already in motion, even if the physical hasn't caught up yet. Your job is not to beg for proof. Your job is to embody the new. Because the moment you assume a new reality within, the old one becomes irrelevant, and soon enough it will disappear. Like smoke, like a dream you've woken up from, because that's all it ever was. To enter into the new, you must first become still, not passive, still, not lifeless, calm. Because true creation does not come through force, effort, or panic. It flows through a relaxed state of knowing, a deep inner confidence that what you desire is already done. When you relax, you release resistance. You stop clinging, grasping, and chasing. You step out of survival and into surrender, not to the world, but to your own power. So many try to think their way into a new life, to mentally push or control circumstances, to constantly affirm and visualize in a state of tension. But this energy does not attract, it repels. Tension says, it's not here yet. Desperation says, I'm separate from it. Anxiety whispers it might not happen. And the universe responds by echoing that belief, delaying the shift even further. But the moment you exhale, truly exhale, and drop into that quiet place within, something changes. You begin to touch the realm where all things are possible, where time folds and identity dissolves. In that space, you are no longer the one who wants. You are the one who already is. The gap closes not by trying harder, but by softening your grip on what you think you need. Relaxation is not laziness, it is spiritual authority. It is the refusal to panic. It is the awareness that what is meant for you does not require effort, it requires alignment. The aligned version of you doesn't beg, stress, or fear. It sits. It breathes, it assumes, and from that relaxed state, a magnetic force radiates out, a vibration of peace that pulls the unseen into form. When you are relaxed, your imagination becomes fertile, your subconscious becomes receptive, your body becomes still enough to receive guidance, inspiration, and intuitive action. The noise fades, the fog lifts, and clarity emerges. Not from thinking, but from simply being. So the key is not to force the new reality. The key is to create the conditions within where it has no choice but to emerge. And those conditions are created every time you relax, every time you let go of needing it now, and simply rest in the certainty that it's already unfolding, perfectly, effortlessly, and right on time. Every moment of your life is shaped not by what you do, but by what you assume to be true. Assumptions are not idle thoughts. They are living blueprints. They shape your posture, your energy, your reactions, your choices, and eventually your outcomes. The world doesn't respond to your hopes or wishes. It responds to your assumptions. The silent agreements you've made within yourself about who you are and what you deserve. Assume something often enough, deeply enough, and you will notice how people begin to reflect it back to you. Situations will shift to match it. Events will occur to confirm it, but it all begins within. There is no outside cause. There is only you and what you are accepting as true. Assume you are loved, and the world starts to mirror affection. Assume you are lucky, and life begins to organize itself around synchronicity. Assume you are chosen, and those around you begin to treat you as valuable. The assumption precedes the evidence. The feeling comes first, and then the world adjusts. Most people assume based on what they see, but this is the trap. They let their five senses dictate their identity. If they see lack, they assume they are lacking. If they see delay, they assume they are forgotten. If they see rejection, they assume they are unwanted. And so the pattern continues, not because they are cursed, but because they never paused to question the assumption. To shift your world, you must first shift the state you occupy. You must dare to assume something new, even when the outer world shows no proof of it. You must feel yourself into a new identity, not with effort, but with faith. Because once the assumption is alive within you, it begins its silent, invisible work. It alters the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you perceive, and the universe follows that frequency. You don't get what you want, you get what you assume. And this assumption is not a mental chant, it is a lived inner state. You may repeat affirmations all day long, but if the assumption behind them is disbelief, the result will be contradiction. It is not the words, it is the feeling they rest upon. That feeling is the root. And from that root, everything grows. Assume you are already it. Assume you are already there. Don't wait for the world to confirm it. Let your assumption lead the way. And you will find yourself becoming what you once only imagined. Thoughts alone are not enough. Words by themselves are not enough. What gives power to your inner work, what activates the unseen, is the feeling behind it. Feeling is the creative force, the magnetic field that molds your inner assumptions into outer experiences. It is not what you say that manifests, but what you emotionally accept as true. Is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of knowing. And in that knowing, you are free. It is not what you write, nor what you say aloud that holds the true power to change your life. It is what you hear, quietly, consistently, and inwardly. This is the great mystery most overlook. The inner ear is the true gateway to creation. What you listen to within, you eventually embody. And what you embody, you express. The outer world is simply the echo of your inner hearing. Many speak words of faith while inwardly rehearsing doubt. They write affirmations but then fall asleep to the inner dialogue of fear. They speak of success but listen to the internal voice that tells them they are not enough. This contradiction is why so many remain stuck. The world responds not to what you say, but to what you inwardly accept as true. You become what you consistently hear in the silence of your being. When no one is watching, when the world is quiet, the voice within speaks. If you hear lack, if you hear rejection, if you hear fear, your life will shape itself accordingly. But if you hear abundance, if you hear worthiness, if you hear peace, then even without saying a word, your world will rise to meet that vibration. There is no deception in the inner ear. It reveals exactly where your fate lives. You may fool others with bold speech, but you cannot fool the law of consciousness. The voice you return to again and again in the still moments of the day, that is the voice creating your tomorrow. And you always have a choice to tune in to the voice of limitation or to the whisper of truth. This is why silence is sacred. It reveals what is truly at work within you, and once you are aware of what you're inwardly hearing, you have the power to change it, not through force, but through gentle repetition. Through choosing again and again to listen to the voice that tells you all things are possible, you are worthy, you are already it. Your inner hearing is your true teacher. It guides you, corrects you, inspires you. It is not the loud voice of the world, but the quiet, unwavering tone of knowing. You cannot hear it when your mind is busy. You cannot access it when you are rushing. But when you sit in stillness and close the outer ear, the inner ear opens wide. And what you hear there, in that secret chamber of the soul, is what you will live. All transformation begins with a shift in what you inwardly listen to. If you wish to change your life, change what you hear. Stop giving energy to voices of criticism, of defeat, of fear. These are old recordings, and they are not you. Instead, tune in to the voice that already sees you as whole, successful, and free. It is there. It has always been there, waiting. Even now, in this moment, it speaks. Softly, calmly, confidently. You are more than enough. You are already chosen. Nothing is missing. Can you hear it? Can you quiet the noise long enough to truly listen? This is the secret. Inner hearing is the birthplace of outer transformation. What you hear, you become. And what you become, the world must reflect. So listen wisely, listen deliberately, and above all, listen with faith. Because in that quiet inner sound, the one only you can hear, lies the power to reshape your entire reality. Effort is the enemy of faith. The more you strive, the more you affirm that what you desire is not yet yours. And so the chase continues and fulfillment slips further from reach. But there is another way, a higher way, where you stop trying and start trusting. You do not push, you allow. You do not chase, you choose. You do not beg, you become. Faith does not require effort, it requires surrender. To trust is to know, not to hope with doubt behind your eyes, but to rest in the assurance that what you have imagined is already established in the unseen. This world is not changed by your force, it is changed by your assumption. When you stop trying to make something happen and instead assume the state of the one for whom it has already happened, reality bends to reflect that change. Trying keeps you in the state of wanting. Trusting places you in the state of having. And what you have in consciousness will soon become visible in form. There is no need to strain. The universe does not respond to how hard you work. It responds to how deeply you believe. All creation begins with inner conviction, not outer effort. This is the invitation. Step out of the chase, step into the knowing. You do not need to keep proving yourself. You do not need to keep asking. You only need to receive. And receiving requires stillness. It requires listening. It requires alignment with what already exists within you. Because all things truly are within. They are not outside waiting to be won. They are inside waiting to be accepted. To stop trying does not mean to do nothing. It means to stop the inner struggle. It means to lay down the weapons of fear and control and to walk boldly into the identity that matches your desire. The moment you say within yourself, "I am already this," the world begins to move in harmony with your new belief. But as long as you continue to chase the thing, you declare its absence. And what you declare, you create. Let go of the need to force. Drop the habit of questioning how and when. These are the burdens of the doubter. You are not here to carry them. You are here to dwell in the state of already being. You are here to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and to rest in that feeling as if it were the only truth. Trust is not blind. It sees clearly. It sees through appearances and holds fast to the unseen reality. Trust knows that the seed already planted will bloom, even before a single leaf appears. Trust does not dig up the soil every day to check. It waters, it waits, it believes. When you stop trying, the noise quiets, the resistance melts, and something far greater begins to work through you. You are no longer the one making it happen. You become the one for whom it is happening. This is the shift. This is the key. So don't move. Don't strive. Don't exhaust yourself in pursuit. Close your eyes. Go within. Feel the joy of already being it. Let that be your only effort. The gentle effort of inner alignment. Because the truth is simple. You do not get what you chase, you get what you are. And to become it, you must trust it. Trust the process. Trust the voice within. Trust the power that has never failed and never will. Stop trying, start trusting, and watch the world give you what was already yours. Every word you hear within yourself is a seed. It may seem small, silent, and invisible, but it carries within it the full potential of a new world. When you listen in silence, when you allow yourself to hear without resistance, you are not merely daydreaming or escaping, you are planting. You are sowing thoughts into the deep, unseen soil of consciousness. And that soil is always fertile. It does not question, it does not resist. It simply receives and brings forth after its kind. There is no wasted word in the inner world. Every phrase, every idea, every whispered belief that you accept and repeat within yourself takes root. Some grow quickly, some lie dormant until watered with repetition, but they all grow. Not by your labor, not by your striving, but by your faith in their reality. You see, consciousness is not passive. It is alive. It is the creative force that shapes your outer world from your inner assumptions. The moment you allow a new idea to settle within, truly settle, without doubt or contradiction, you have activated a seed. And like all seeds, it does not need you to constantly check on it. It needs you to trust. This is why silence is powerful, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. It is in silence that you finally stop scattering your energy. You stop pushing, reacting, and resisting. You become still, and in that stillness, your true desires rise to the surface. And when you hear them clearly, inwardly, without noise, you begin to plant with intention. It is not the loud outer voice that creates. It is the still inner one. That voice that says, "I am well, I am whole, I am already what I desire to be." These are not just affirmations, they are seeds. And when repeated in the quiet chambers of the soul, they begin to reshape everything around you. But you must be mindful of what you are planting. For the inner world does not distinguish between good or bad, wanted or unwanted. It simply accepts what you repeatedly say and feel. If you say, "Nothing ever works for me," that too is a seed, and it will grow. If you say, "I'm always lucky," that also is a seed, and it too will bear fruit. The soil of consciousness is not partial, it yields to the sower. So listen carefully, speak carefully, think carefully, because each word is a creative act. Each inner statement is a blueprint, and over time, what you have planted will rise, not suddenly, not all at once, but surely that is the nature of the seed. You do not need to shout it, you do not need to force it. Whisper it in faith. Let it settle, let it take root. Then live your life in quiet expectancy, knowing the harvest will arrive. This is the secret of all transformation. It begins not with action, but with attention. Attention to what you are saying within yourself. When you sit in silence and hear the truth of who you are, not the noise of the world, but the truth, you are doing more than imagining, you are creating. You are directing the future by what you believe in the present. And belief is not shown by outer declarations. It is revealed by the still, persistent inner voice. So guard your inner speech. Nourish it. Let your words within be soft, sure, and aligned with the life you wish to live. Because whether you recognize it or not, you are always planting. Every word is a seed. Every silence is an opportunity. And the more you listen in faith, the more your life becomes a garden of everything you once only imagined. Imagination is always speaking. It whispers softly beneath the noise of daily life, beneath the obligations, the fears, the questions, the constant need to make things happen. It does not shout, it does not argue. It speaks in images, in feelings, in subtle nudges that pull you toward your deepest truth. But the question is not whether it speaks. The question is, are you listening? You were never meant to control the how. That burden was never yours. Life does not respond to control, it responds to alignment. And alignment begins with surrender. Your task is not to orchestrate every step or figure out every detail. Your task is to listen, to feel, to trust what rises within. Not from logic, but from that deeper place where the true self lives. The place where all creation begins. Close your eyes and tune in. Not to the outer world where noise rules and opinions shift like wind. Tune in to the inner world, where your imagination has already painted the life you long for. That vision, the one that seems too big, too bold, too far away, is not fantasy, it is guidance. It is instruction from a higher realm of yourself. It does not tease you, it reveals you. It shows you who you really are and what already belongs to you. But to hear it, you must be still. You must let go of the anxious need to make something happen. You must quiet the voice that says, "I must do more, try harder, figure it all out." That voice is not the truth. That voice is fear. And fear cannot guide you into the life you were born to live. Only imagination can do that. Only the inner voice, the one that speaks in knowing, not panic, can lead you into your real destiny. Imagination does not speak in chaos. It speaks in clarity. When you feel peace, when you feel certainty rising from within you, that is the sign, that is the inner language that says, "This is yours, walk in it." You don't have to earn it, you only have to allow it. The victory is not something you must achieve, it is something you must recognize. Your imagined victory is the seed of a future already planted. The moment you see it in your mind, you have touched the eternal. You have glimpsed the unseen reality that wants to unfold through you, but instead of chasing it, you must embody it. You must feel it now, as if it were already done. That is how you listen. That is how you receive. The imagination is your inner compass. It is always pointing to the truth of what is possible. Not according to the world's standards or limitations, but according to your own divine design. Every time you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not escaping life, you are commanding it. You are instructing the unseen to arrange itself around your new assumption. This is not wishful thinking. This is the deepest form of listening. It is the art of hearing what the world cannot yet see and responding to it with trust. You don't need proof. You only need presence. Presence in the state, presence in the vision, presence in the knowing that what is seen in imagination is more real than what is seen in form. So stop fighting, stop planning every move, stop questioning the timing. Sit quietly, feel the outcome, hear it in your spirit. The voice of your imagination is your victory speaking. Let it rise, let it live through you, because the more you listen, the more you align. And when you align, there is nothing to chase, only everything to receive. You win not by force, not by effort, not by striving, but by becoming. And the becoming happens first in silence. It begins within, where no one sees, where no applause echoes and no opinions can sway. In that stillness, you are not trying to get something, you are remembering who you are. You are aligning with the identity that already possesses the thing you seek. Manifestation is not the result of activity, it is the result of identity. You do not receive what you want, you receive who you are. And who you are is determined by what you accept as true in the quiet of your own mind. The inner conversation, the inner assumption, the inner feeling, that is the birthplace of all outward change. To become is to win, not outwardly, not for show, but inwardly, where it matters most. That is where the seed is planted. That is where the world begins to reshape itself around you. When you sit in silence and accept the truth of your desired state, you begin to live from it. And once you live from it, the world cannot help but reflect it. This is why silence is sacred. Because in silence, the noise of limitation dies. The stories you've repeated to yourself of lack, of doubt, of fear, begin to dissolve. And in their place, you hear something deeper. You hear the voice of truth, the still and powerful knowing that you already are what you desire to be. Not someday, not maybe, now. You don't need to speak it out loud. You don't need to convince anyone. You only need to feel it as real. That feeling, repeated, becomes a state, and that state becomes your identity. Once it becomes your identity, the external world bends to meet it. It must. Because the world is not separate from you. It is a mirror, a divine echo of your innermost assumptions. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the inner man. And the inner man is shaped by what he listens to in silence. So the question is not, what should I do? The question is, who am I becoming within? Are you still holding on to the identity of the one who lacks, who doubts, who hopes but does not know? Or have you dared to assume a higher self, one who is already chosen, already favored, already victorious? This is not about pretending, it's about embodying. An embodiment begins before movement. It begins in that sacred space where you close your eyes and dwell in the feeling of already being, already having, already living from the place you once only dreamed of. The mind does not argue with identity, it simply follows it. If you believe you are, then you are. If you persist in that belief, quietly, faithfully, without rushing, then the world will match your self-concept. The doors will open, the people will show up, the path will reveal itself, not because you chased it, but because you became it. Silence is not empty, it is full of power. In silence, you are not doing less, you are doing what matters most. You are planting the image, you are claiming the identity, you are choosing to be before anything appears. That is the secret, that is the key. So stop striving, stop waiting for the outside to change before you allow yourself to believe. Change first. In your imagination, in your assumption, in your quiet personal truth. The rest is inevitable. You win by becoming it first, in silence, and then watching as the world rushes to agree. So now you understand. You were never meant to force, chase, or plead. Your real power has always lived in your stillness. It is in the quiet where identity is shaped, where imagination speaks, and where your entire world begins to take form. You win not by pushing, but by surrendering to the truth already within you. You don't move, don't write, don't beg. You listen, you become, and you receive. Let the world shout, let the mind race, but you remain still, because you now know the secret. Manifestation is not about doing more. It is about becoming more inwardly aligned with the self that already has it. Every vision, every desire, every whispered dream, it is already yours. Your only task is to believe it deeply enough that the world has no choice but to mirror it back to you. Thank you for listening, not just to these words, but to the deeper voice within you. May you walk forward not with striving, but with stillness, not with fear, but with faith. You already are everything you seek. Let that truth guide you, silently, confidently, into the life that is waiting for you. My friend, you did not arrive at this moment by accident. You were led here by the unseen hand of your own consciousness. For what you perceive as coincidence is nothing less than divine orchestration, triggered by the inner movement of your belief. If you are seeing this, it means something remarkable has already happened within you. The outer world is slow to catch up, but the inner shift has already taken place. You have already accepted, consciously or unconsciously, the idea of great wealth. And because you have done so, it must be made flesh. It must now appear. You are not waiting for millions, they are already waiting for you. You do not see them yet with your physical eyes, but that is of no consequence. Everything that ever was, everything that ever shall be, begins in the unseen. The world you walk through today is the residue of old beliefs. But your future, your millions, your success, they are vibrating in the now. Assume the state. Not tomorrow, not when your bank account changes. Right now, feel the satisfaction of wealth. Dwell in the joy of provision. Walk in the confidence of someone who already owns it. When you close your eyes, do not ask, where is it? Instead, declare, it is done. And then you rest. You do not toil for what is already yours. You do not chase what is already coming. You simply align. You give thanks in advance. You speak only from the place of having, never of lack. Because reality is not created by effort. It is created by assumption. And this message is not a suggestion. It is a confirmation, a sign that the universe has already moved on your behalf. Hold fast to the vision, speak only what you wish to see, and every step you take from this moment on, take it as one who has already received. If you're seeing this, millions are already coming to you. Now claim it and let it be. Consciousness is the only reality. What you see now is a reflection of your inner state. Everything you experience, from the smallest event to the grandest opportunity, arises from what you have accepted as true within yourself. Nothing enters your world uninvited. There is no outer cause, there is no luck, no fate, no accident. Your world is your mirror, faithfully reflecting the contents of your inner beliefs, your dominant thoughts, and your most persistent assumptions. If this message has reached you, it is not by chance. It is not random. Nor is it merely a moment of curiosity. It is evidence, concrete and undeniable, that a shift has already occurred within you. Something inside you has awakened, stretched, and reached for more. Something within you has said, "I am ready." You may not have spoken those words aloud, but your consciousness did. And that is what matters. For it is your inner conversation, your silent assumptions, and your unseen acceptance that shape the very fabric of your life. Millions do not come to those who wish in vain. They come to those who have accepted abundance as their natural state. If you feel drawn to the idea of wealth, if your soul leans forward when you hear these words, it's because the seed of abundance is already planted. More than that, it is already beginning to bloom. What you are seeing, what you are hearing now, is the outer echo of an inner truth. You have already accepted the wealth, not someday, not one day, but now. This moment is the proof. The world does not move until you move within. No amount of striving, no external effort, no pushing or pulling of people or circumstances can bring you what you have not first accepted within. You must claim it in the unseen before it becomes visible. And the claiming is not begging, it is not hoping, it is not even asking. It is assuming, knowing, dwelling in the state of already having. To the world this may look like delusion. To those asleep to their power it may appear as fantasy. But to you, the one awakening, it is truth. It is law. Do not be concerned with what the outer world tells you. It is old news, simply a reflection of past thinking. What you think now is what you will see later. What you accept now is what will show up soon. This message, reaching your awareness in this precise moment, is a ripple from the inner acceptance of abundance that already lives within you. You may have buried it beneath worry or fear or doubt, but it is there. And it is waking up. You don't need to chase wealth. You don't need to convince the world of your worth. You only need to return to the truth of your being. Accept it now. You are the source of your reality. You are the cause. You are the creator. And wealth is simply one of many reflections of your expanded awareness. Let the outer signs come as they must, but know that what matters most has already occurred. The door is opened, the state is accepted, and what you see now is not just a message. It is a manifestation of your inner alignment. You have already said yes, and now the world must respond. Imagination precedes manifestation. It is the womb of all creation. Every form, every event, every circumstance you call real was once held in the unseen world of thought and imagination. Nothing appears in your outer world without first being born in your inner world. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the technology you use, all of it was once a vision, an idea, an image in someone's mind. So too is your wealth. It does not arrive by accident. It does not fall from the sky. It emerges from the soil of your imagination, watered by your belief, and harvested through your assumption. You don't attract millions by chance. You don't stumble into abundance or happen upon fortune. You become a person who already has it in your inner world first. It is not about striving harder. It is not about how much you do. It is about who you are within. The one who sees millions, feels millions, and accepts millions in their imagination is the one who will experience them in life. The outer world is not the cause, is the effect. The cause is always your inner state, and the most powerful tool you have for shifting that state is imagination. Imagination is not a child's game. It is divine, it is sacred. It is the creative force that moves mountains, builds empires, and turns invisible ideas into visible results. When you dare to imagine yourself wealthy, not someday, but now, you are planting the very seed that must grow into visible wealth. You are tuning your inner frequency to match the life you desire. And once that inner frequency becomes your dwelling place, the world must conform to it. Too many people wait for proof before they believe. They say, I will feel rich when I see the money. But the truth is, you must feel it first. You must embody it before the world reflects it. You must sit quietly, close your eyes, and see yourself already there. Hear the sound of success, smell the air of luxury, walk through the house, drive the car, sign the check. All in your imagination. And do not come out of that state as if it were a fantasy. Dwell in it. Live from it. Let that imagined life feel more real than what your senses show you now. The one who has millions does not worry about money, so you must not worry. The one who has millions feels gratitude, confidence, and joy, so you must feel these things now. Let your imagination become your sanctuary. Visit it daily. Return to it in moments of doubt. For the world around you is only catching up to the world within you. It is delayed, not denied. Once imagined and accepted, it must appear. You are not creating from the outside in, you are creating from the inside out. So don't ask how or when. Don't seek evidence. Don't look for signs. Become the sign. Become the person who already lives in the state of wealth. Imagination is your bridge. Imagination is your power. Imagination is the first manifestation, and when it is held faithfully, consistently, and confidently, it must become reality. You are not waiting for millions. You are becoming the one who already has them. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That is the secret, that is the key that unlocks every door. You do not wait until something appears to feel it. You feel it and then it appears. You do not stand outside the house you desire, hoping to one day be let in. You go within, close your eyes, and walk through its halls. You do not wait until the millions arrive to feel wealthy. You feel wealthy now, as if it were already so, because in truth, it is. All things begin and end in consciousness. The outer world, no matter how solid or real it seems, is simply the slow reflection of your inner assumptions. What you accept as true within yourself, the world must mirror back to you. So if you wish to be wealthy, you must stop waiting for the numbers in your account to change. You must stop placing your sense of wealth on hold. You must go beyond appearances and dwell in the state of already having. Ask yourself now, how would you feel if you knew the millions were already yours? What would shift within you? How would your body relax? How would your voice change? What choices would you make today? That feeling, subtle, calm, steady, that is the goal. That is the energy that manifests. You must learn to dwell in that feeling as naturally as you breathe. You must wear it like a second skin, not as pretense, but as truth. Because once you assume the feeling, the world has no choice but to conform. You see, most people reverse the process. They say, once I get the money, then I'll feel secure, confident, free. But they wait forever. Because life responds not to their words, not to their effort, but to their state of being. And their state is one of lack, of waiting, of not yet. So the world continues to echo back, not yet. But when you shift the order, when you claim the state first, feel the end now, then the process begins to unfold. This is not pretending, this is creating. Pretending is hoping with your fingers crossed. Assuming is knowing. Pretending seeks validation from the outside. Assuming moves from inner conviction. You must become so sure, so settled, so inwardly convinced of your wealth that you no longer look around to check for signs. You know it is done. You feel it in your bones. And because you feel it, you walk differently, speak differently, think differently. And because you have changed, your world must change. This is the law. This is how reality bends. Not through effort or struggle, but through assumption. You are not here to chase wealth, you are here to remember that it is already yours. To step into the version of yourself that already lives in the fulfilled state. To live from the end, because when you live from the end, the journey rearranges itself. The people, the opportunities, the ideas all flow to match your new frequency. So do not wait. Do not postpone your joy. Do not delay your abundance. Assume it now, feel it now, be it now, and watch with calm expectation as the outer world bends to mirror the richness you have claimed within. Signs follow, they do not precede. That is the great misunderstanding for most. They wait for signs to tell them they are on the right path. They look for external evidence before they allow themselves to believe. But belief is not born from signs. Signs are born from belief. The outer world does not lead, it follows. The visible does not shape the invisible. The invisible shapes the visible. And so, if you're seeing this message now, understand, it is not the beginning. It is the confirmation that something is already changed within you. You may have thought you were still waiting. You may have believed that nothing had shifted yet, that your desire was still far off, lingering in some distant future. But the moment your awareness drew you to these words, it became clear. Your inner world has already moved. You've already claimed something. You may not have done it consciously, but at some deeper level, you accepted a new reality. You made a decision. You said, yes, that is mine. And now the signs are showing up, not to guide you, but to reflect that you've already begun. This is the way creation works. First you feel it, then you see it. First you assume it, then it materializes. First you become it within, then the world catches up. But most people try to reverse the process. They look outward and say, when it appears, then I'll believe. They remain in doubt, waiting for the world to convince them. But the world cannot bring you what you have not accepted. It only mirrors what you've already assumed to be true. This message right now is one of those mirrors. It didn't find you by mistake. It didn't land in front of you by luck or coincidence. It came because your inner self has already called it forth. You've tuned into the frequency of change. You've aligned, even slightly, with the feeling of having, and now the reflections begin. This message is not telling you to begin. That is why you feel something stirring as you read these words. That is why part of you knows this is true, even if your logical mind tries to resist it. Because something deeper is happening, a shift that doesn't need to be forced or explained. It only needs to be trusted. You don't have to figure out how. You only have to remain faithful to the state you've entered. The state of already being, already having, already knowing that what you seek is not ahead of you. It is within you, waiting for you to continue to assume it as natural, as real. Do not chase signs, do not wait for proof. Walk in the assumption that it is already done. Let signs be gentle confirmations, not required conditions. Let them be echoes, not starting points. Because the truth is, if you're seeing this now, the work has already begun. The inner soil has already been tilled, the seed already planted. All that's left is to keep watering it with belief. And the harvest, by law, will come. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. It is not blind hope, nor is it passive wishing. It is the quiet, unwavering conviction that what you have imagined, what you have felt in the stillness of your soul, is more real than what your eyes can presently behold. It is choosing to trust the invisible over the visible, not because you are naive, but because you understand the truth. The visible world is always the echo, never the source. To live by faith is to refuse to be dominated by appearances. It is to know that what is seen is temporary, fleeting, a delayed printout of past beliefs. But what is unseen, that inner vision, that imagined reality, that assumed feeling, is eternal. It is the birthplace of everything. All things that exist began there. Every structure, every invention, every fortune, every transformation began as an invisible concept, nurtured by the one who dared to remain loyal to it long before others could see it. When you persist in belief, even when the world gives you every reason to doubt, you are exercising true power. You are aligning yourself with the creative force of life. Faith is not passive, it is not idle, it is deeply active even when no movement is visible. It means continuing to assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled despite all contradictions. It means standing firm in your inner knowing, even when everything around you seems to deny it. This kind of faith requires discipline of the imagination. It asks that you continually return to the inner state where your desire is already realized, that you feel the joy, the gratitude, the relief as though it were already so. Because in the unseen realm, it is. The moment you accepted it in your imagination, the process of manifestation began. Your role now is not to create, but to remain loyal to the creation you've already accepted. Most abandon their dreams not because they are impossible, but because they shift their loyalty. They let doubt creep in. They become swayed by the lack of evidence. They stare too long at the empty bank account, the closed door, the absence of movement, and conclude that nothing is happening. But something is always happening. The unseen reality is arranging itself. The world is bending to your assumption, and your continued faith keeps that momentum alive. Every great achiever, every visionary, every individual who has lived a life of abundance and fulfillment did so not because they waited to see, but because they believed before the world caught up. They knew that reality begins within. They knew that imagination, once felt as real, must express itself in form. So you must choose. Will you remain loyal to what is seen, or will you commit to what you've seen in the silence? Will you be governed by appearances, or will you govern them with your belief? Faith is not about waiting for things to change. It is about being the change in consciousness first. It is living, breathing, and moving from the assumption that what you've imagined is already yours. Let the world catch up. You've already arrived. Faith is your passport. Stay loyal to the unseen, and the seen will bow in response. Gratitude is the accelerator of all manifestations. It is not a reaction to what has happened. It is a decision to claim what is happening, even when it has not yet arrived in physical form. To give thanks in advance is the clearest signal to the universe that you already possess the thing you desire. Gratitude is not a polite gesture. It is a creative force. It is the energy that says, it is done. And in that declaration, you speed the arrival of your desire. You must give thanks now, not later. Waiting to feel grateful only after something appears is the habit of one who doubts. It suggests, I do not believe it is mine until I can see it. But creation does not respond to delay, it responds to faith. And faith expresses itself through gratitude before the fact. When you feel grateful for what your senses cannot yet detect, you prove that your inner world is more real to you than the outer, and that is when everything changes. Gratitude locks you into the frequency of abundance. It tunes your inner state to the vibration of already having. And since the world is only a mirror of your state, you begin to experience reflections of abundance in your outer life. Small things at first, a compliment, a gift, a new opportunity. But these are not random. They are confirmations, echoes of the state you have assumed. And as you persist, the echoes grow louder, larger, more consistent. You cannot be both grateful and lacking. You cannot thank the universe for a blessing and simultaneously worry it will not come. One cancels the other. Gratitude clears doubt. It silences fear. It neutralizes impatience. Why? Because the one who is grateful is not trying to make something happen. They know it has already happened in unseen form, and they live from that knowing. This is the deeper magic of gratitude. It shifts your posture from waiting to receiving, from hoping to having, from separation to union. It collapses time. When you give thanks in advance, you are pulling the future into the now. You are saying, I no longer need proof because I know. And because I know, I give thanks. That energy is magnetic. It draws to you the very things you no longer chase. Start small. Begin each day with a whispered thank you, not for what has appeared, but for what is unfolding. Not for what you have, but for what is already yours in consciousness. Speak gratitude for the wealth you feel, even if the numbers are not yet in your account. Thank the universe for the love you carry, even if your partner has not yet arrived. Celebrate the health, the freedom, the peace, before they are tangible, because they are already real within you. And what is real within must express itself without. Let gratitude become your daily practice, your silent song. Let it color your thoughts, your words, your reactions. Gratitude is not passive. It is not soft. It is powerful. It is the language of creation. Use it boldly, use it constantly, and you will find that what once seemed far away is already at your door, drawn to the undeniable light of your thankful heart. When you understand that consciousness creates reality, that assumption precedes manifestation, and that signs are only echoes of your inner shift, you begin to see life through a different lens. You stop chasing, doubting, and waiting, and instead you assume, you believe, you feel, and you give thanks. This is not about hoping something will happen. It's about knowing that it already has. The moment you aligned your inner world, the outer world began to reshape itself to reflect that truth. So if you're seeing this message, it means the shift has already occurred. You've tuned into a new frequency, the frequency of wealth, abundance, and fulfillment. Millions are not on their way. They are already yours in unseen form. Your only task now is to remain faithful to that inner knowing. Persist in the assumption. Give thanks as if it's already done. Walk as if the outcome is certain, because it is. Creation is finished, and you are the one revealing it, step by step, through your state of being. So walk boldly, speak confidently, and rest in gratitude. The world you desire is no longer a dream. It is your unseen reality becoming visible. Thank you for receiving this message. Stay loyal to your vision and let the evidence unfold.